Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting, October 2023. We'll start with a call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for roll call, we have Danielle Jouen, Mark Donovan, Martha Majeski, and myself, Bob Cooney. Susan Garrett is not present tonight. We had executive sessions on September 13th, 2023, as well as before this meeting, October 11th, to discuss possible property acquisition, potential litigation, and employee matters. And tonight we have a presentation with the folks from Chester County regarding Chester County Bridge number 175 from Creek Road. Representatives from Chester County will present the Creek Road Bridge project. The floor is yours. Right to it.
You will need to take the microphone, yes.
You can walk around with it too.
Oh, can I? Well, I'll just stand here for right now. My name's Eric Quinn. I'm the manager for the Chester County Bridge Program. Chester County owns and maintains 91 roadway bridges within the county, along with numerous park and trail bridges and culverts. We're here today to present 175 Creek Road over Pickering Creek. And we've got our team here. Sandy Martin is the county's bridge engineer with McCormick Taylor. And then we've got our team here from traffic planning and design, Matt Hickson and his colleagues, Walt Albright and Dan Bitterlich. And Sandy's going to start off with talking about the current conditions of the bridge and the reasons for going forward with the replacement. So, thank you.
You will need to take the microphone with you.
I might break out in karaoke. Just a warning. Okay. So good evening, everybody. I guess you're going to be my clicker, or? Okay, go for it. This is Creek Road Bridge. It's over Pickering Creek, right down the road, right off of Route 29. It's, to us, it's known as Chester County Bridge number 175. So if anybody is already familiar with the bridge, you're probably used to the view you have riding over the bridge, which is the photo on the left. It is a single lane bridge because it's 14 feet curb to curb in width, and it is currently weight restricted, which means heavy trucks can't use the bridge. I think it's 13 tons except combination, 16. And combination is your tractor trailer type load. So for a regular 2-axle vehicle, it's a 13 tons, and the larger vehicles, it would be a 16 ton. That is very low. You know, if we want to have legal loads, you're in the 40 ton range. So a large size, let's see, trash truck, dump truck, even a school bus is kind of close to that range. So just to give you an idea of what the bridge can currently carry, not a lot of your residential service vehicles, definitely not a concrete truck, definitely not a tractor trailer, those types of things. The photo on the right is a elevation view where you can see it is actually a 2-girder bridge. It is 2 steel girders. That also is not a great thing from a bridge engineering perspective, because 2 girders is called what we call fracture critical, where if one of those girders has a problem and fails, the whole bridge collapses. So we like a lot of redundancy when we design bridges. This one was designed a number of years ago, and they didn't think about that stuff as much. The substructure is stone masonry. You can see the abutment that is closest to us in the picture is, you see the stone. The other one has a concrete skirt wall in front of it. So you don't see the stone, but there is stone behind that. The abutment on this bridge is, if you go way, way back, is original to the covered bridge, which used to be at this location. And I got to look up the date here. It was 1879, and then the covering came off in the 1920s. So it's been a long time that it hasn't been a covered bridge, but it was originally a covered bridge. The challenge with the substructure on this bridge, you can see sort of in that photo, the deep pool of water that, if you can tell what you're looking at, is a really deep pool of water. And that's because we get a lot of scouring undermine there. The stream really does rise in this location. I'm sure if anybody's a resident near here, it does come up to the underside of the bridge. It can overtop the approaches, and we do get a lot of scouring undermine. So I wanted to walk you through it while the photos were there, but Matt's going to advance to the next slide, which tells you a lot of what I just told you. So I'll get through this pretty quick. Single span, that means there's 2 abutments, steel girders between it, no piers. Non-composite rolled steel girder. The non-composite means there's no concrete that's integral to that gives it extra capacity. It is really just steel. And then it has a glue laminated timber deck on top of it. And then on top of that is the wearing surface, the bituminous or asphalt that you drive upon. That doesn't give a lot of extra capacity as well. It is called the Thompson-Davis Bridge. That's its county's kind of historic name. It might be new to some folks. It is considered locally historic. I think at the township, when I say that at the township, it's considered a Class 2 resource based on your records. The county, I don't think, has any knowledge of its historic nature. I already said it was originally constructed in 1879. The weight restriction, the width, and the span is 53 feet. So the length, and that means from abutment to abutment, is 53 feet. And then the traffic volume out there is 1,790 vehicles, which was counted last year. That's pretty light, but it's, I mean, we have some county bridges that have 100 cars a day in the very, very, very rural areas, but for 1,790, when you talk about highway traffic, they're in the 60, 80, 100,000 cars. I mean, a lot more than that. The design, when TPD took a look at the design, they escalate that out, they project it out, and based on a 2045, they're projecting 2,026 vehicles a day. So we don't have any high projections or any knowledge of anything that's going to greatly change the traffic patterns in that area. And then lastly, the posted speed limit is 25 miles an hour. So what we're here to talk about tonight, and I apologize not getting the full one back to you, and I hope I'm not blocking the screen. Oh, you have it? Okay. I didn't realize I might be blocking everybody out. We're here tonight because the county, for a number of years, when did we start this, Matt? Yeah, 2016, we embarked on a project to replace the bridge for a lot of reasons. The weight restriction, they're scour critical. What I didn't say about that deep pool of water is when we get a big storm like Hurricane Ida, or if you go back to Hurricane Floyd, or even some of the relatively smaller ones in between, we've had some major scour and undermining at that bridge. And you might, if you're local to the area, we've closed it for a number of weeks to have divers go down and put grout bags and make some pretty significant repairs. So we have a problem where the foundation isn't stable, and the underlying material under the foundation gets eroded out pretty quickly. So that's one of the big problems. The weight restriction is a big problem because even though we post it and we hope that trucks aren't using it, we're pretty certain that trucks use it here and there when somebody's GPS tells them to go that way and they don't look up and read the sign. Another thing, I showed you that first picture that had the railing. That is not a standard PennDOT approved railing. So we want to improve the safety there and get more stable and secure and safe railing. And then the overall thing for the project is to minimize the impacts to the environment, the surrounding properties, and anything we can do to do that. It is utilizing PennDOT funding. That's really important because the county then doesn't have its own governance on how we design this project. PennDOT's going to tell us how we design the project, and it's going to be in accordance with PennDOT design standards. And then the one thing I should note about the PennDOT design standards, we've had some people comment in the past, because we did come to the township in 2017, and we had some comments that, well, could it still be a one-lane bridge? The answer to that, per PennDOT standards, anything with an average daily traffic, that 1,700 and something number that I showed earlier, greater than 400 vehicles a day cannot be a one-lane bridge. So we're dictated by the governance of PennDOT that we cannot be a one-lane bridge. With that, I think, did I cover everything, Matt? I think we did. I think I'm going to turn it over to Matt, who is with Traffic Planning Design, and he will tell you a little bit more about his design efforts.
I'll be on my own changing slide, so double duty here. So as Sandy mentioned, this is because of the PennDOT funding, we have to go through the PennDOT process. So through that process, we had to go through an environmental clearance as part of our preliminary engineering phase. Right now, we're in the final engineering phase. So through that environmental clearance process, it was determined that the bridge was not eligible for the National Historic Register listing. So, and as part of that process, one of the things we had to do was come in and speak to the township, which we did in 2017. And then, as a result of that, the project was environmentally cleared by PennDOT in 2021. Sorry. But coming out of the township meeting, we took back
information from the meeting, but we also heard back from the township at that time. And as a result, we wanted to provide a lot of context-sensitive aesthetic treatments to the bridge to help, not just having a standard, I'll say, ugly bridge put in the place of this existing structure. So a few of the things that and I'll show you pictures of what we're proposing, but a few of the things that we are proposing, the county is proposing to provide as requested by the township in 2017. The first thing is that we're going to face all the new bridge abutments and walls with real stone, not a stone for form line, not a concrete form liner that looks like stone. This is real stone that'll be on the outside of the concrete. We also are proposing to provide an open steel, wood-looking brown railing across the bridge and on the approaches. And again, and I'll show you some pictures for this one, but there's an existing stone wall that ties into the existing wing wall for the bridge. We're proposing to reconstruct a section of that. A lot of that was damaged through some of the previous storms. But we're going to tie that in together and try and keep the same look that's out there today. And then finally, in that same vein, while it wasn't requested by the township, what we're proposing to do is construct a wing wall orientation that matches the orientation that was on the original covered bridge. And I'll show some pictures. So here's an aerial view with the proposed bridge there. The light gray is the bridge that we're showing that will replace the existing structure. We had to work around tributaries to the creek that were coming in, so it was a tight constraint that we had to work through there. This is Route 29 here. As you can see, these light gray, those are the wings, and those match what was on the existing bridge. And then, as you can see, this small black line here is the proposed reconstruction of that stone wall on that west of the bridge, and we're proposing to tie into the yellow is the existing stone wall. Here's an artist rendering. We were talking earlier, it reminded us a little bit of Minecraft, well, maybe my kids would, with the lines, but we want to give you a good representation of what is being proposed out there. As Sandy mentioned, the existing bridge is a two-girder system. We're proposing 4, so that gives you the redundancy. If there's ever an issue with one of the beams, it's not going to fail. So what we're proposing to provide are 2 10-foot lanes and 2 2-foot shoulders on either side of the, on each direction across the bridge. You can see the brown open wood-like railing that we're proposing across the structure. And then you can also see the stone, the real stone that we'll be putting on the existing abutments and wings. Because this was a scour critical situation, there will be some rock in there to help alleviate any future concerns with scour that could impact the foundations of the bridge. So this is just, I'll say an artist rendering of what's going to be. So, and then for the construction, because we, at times certain bridges you can use a staged construction approach, and this type of structure you cannot because of the type of structure and because of the width. So we're proposing a detour to allow the construction of the bridge. And the detour was proposing to use 29 Pothouse Road and Whitehorse Road, and it's slightly over a mile in length. So, finalize, I wanted to go through some of the schedule and costs. The estimated construction cost of this bridge replacement, the road approaches, everything that goes into it, is $2.5 million. And as Sandy mentioned, that will be partially the PennDOT, partially the county. So, our estimated remaining schedule, as I mentioned, we're in final design. We're completing the final design in the spring of 2024. We will advertise and award the contract to the contractors in summer or fall of 2024. And then, once they're done, we're expecting that construction will be done and the bridge will be open in fall of 2025.
So you think that this will take a year? Oh, I'm sorry. So
you think this will take a year for, like, the road will be closed and the bridge will be, this will take a year for construction?
Typically, if we advertise to a contractor in the late summer or fall, by the time that we get them notice to proceed and they get, the actual construction may not occur until early spring, late winter, early spring, and then hopefully by, usually, that's considered one construction season would be from the spring to the fall. And then-
Okay.
Yep, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And there are also in-stream restrictions we have to work around. So we've developed a construction schedule that the contractor will be able to use.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Do we have any say in how it matches the historical look of that area? I mean, what we had there originally was, I know I've seen multiple revisions of that bridge over the years. At one point, it was open slats where I think it was pretty dangerous for a bicycle, and I know of at least one bad accident there. And then this current bridge is better, but I get it, it's time. But that looks like something you'd see in a city. And it's a very country setting where it is.
Well, I mean, from a county's perspective, we can, we took the feedback from 2017, and I don't know if Sandy, you want to.
And the reason I laugh at, or did laugh at Matt's comment about the Minecraft, I don't believe the rendering does it justice. So all of this that you see here is real stone to match the stone that's out there. And then this brown rail will go over and look very similar to the railing that's there now is timber, and it's very thick. So this is a little thinner cross section. You won't see this. This is a cut section. You'll just see the face. That could be painted if it's desirable to be a certain color. But I do believe this is a really modern looking rendering because it doesn't depict real stone. It's just somebody's clip art, for lack of a better word.
Substitute textures, if you will.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Substitute textures.
Yes.
Yes.
Does, you mentioned that there's going to be a 2-foot right-of-way on either side of the...
No, shoulders on the road.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say, 2-foot shoulder on either side. Does that match the street on the other side? I guess my question is there a reason doing that versus doing a larger shoulder on one side to permit perhaps more bicycle traffic, or is there a best practice why you would want to put a smaller shoulder on both sides?
Yeah, he can probably answer the engineering side of that because it is pretty prescriptive within PennDOT's design standards of how much volume you have, what the speeds are, and what the sight distance is, and everything that comes up with that lanes. From the standpoint of trying to put a bike facility, or I think it's the county's position that it's not an official bike route, and it'll have enough space to accommodate bikes, but we don't want to make it official because then the liability associated with that when there's not really a bike trail there. But there will be enough. You'll have a lot. Right now you have 14 feet. So if you add this up, 2 10-foot lanes, 2 2-foot shoulders, you have 24 feet. So you will have 10 more feet than you have today. So they shouldn't have the interference of even if 2 cars are passing, you have an additional 4 feet for the bikes.
Yeah, come on up to the microphone. I have a question as far as the ingress and egress of the bridge. Where are you going to take the land to widen it? Is that just in the right of way of the stream, or are there neighbors' land that's
Yeah, that's
going to
my
be taken?
concern. We have a 24-foot bridge, and we're going into a 16-foot road. How does that, I mean, you got 2 lanes going into a 1.5-lane road that continues to have embankment scoured in. How's that work?
So there is right-of-way acquisition. We've already had the surveyor determine the needs for both permanent and temporary right-of-way. But we're holding this stone wall, the one that Matt said that we were going to repair and replace. So the width is more to the this side of
Upstream.
right than the other, and it is going from. I don't know, it's 16 or 18, wherever you measure it, because I think the township road's a little irregular, but whatever the width is, it is going to taper, and you can see it in this depiction that it comes off the bridge and tapers back into the existing township roadway width. We only do, the county is only replacing the roadway from a distance far enough to transition back into Pickering Road, And in the case, since it's so close to Route 29, we're tying in with Route 29.
So from the bridge to 29, you're going to widen the entire road from that point?
It's consistent, yeah.
Okay.
But as she stated, we're holding that stone wall, so we didn't have to get that.
And some of that too has to do with, turning. You wouldn't want to pinch it that close to 29 because your vehicles would be turning into their opposite lane.
Any other comments from the board? From the public? Anybody else? Yeah. Please come up and state your name and grab a microphone.
Ma'am, we're going to need your, we need her name and address first.
Barb Kratz, I'm the farm right on Creek Road there, and I have concerns. So we have this large bridge going down to this 16-foot roadway. I have horses, we have therapeutic riding, we have kids on the spectrum. How are we going to keep this safe for the community? And bikers do use that, and it's not an official bike path, but cyclists use it often. So I have huge concerns about that. Is there speed bumps? Is there local traffic only? Like, what can we do to? You don't think traffic's going to speed up? We now have a one-lane bridge that they have to stop on either side.
They need to do one at a time.
All right, yeah, one at a time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just concerned about, the speed, which, that can be monitored, I'm sure, but I think we need to slow down traffic if we're doing 2 lanes into what essentially isn't a 2-lane road.
And along those lines, would heavier trucks then be coming through here than what's coming through now?
They wouldn't be restricted. I don't know that anybody would change their traffic patterns because of the bridge, because we don't send out memos to anybody or anything, but it would be restricted. So if the trucks are going, I'm going to suspect that there's probably trucks already using the existing bridge. We find that even though they're posted, some trucks don't listen to our posting.
And what-
And then to answer the question, the one thing about this project is that
Can you grab the microphone, please? It's for the recording, not necessarily for the road.
For this bridge, the one thing that does make, really does control the speed, and it's not so much our design or the width of the bridge, but it's the proximity of 29. It's a stop intersection. So somebody coming off of State Road or turning onto it, you're at a stop condition. So there's really not much opportunity to gain a lot of speed before you get to the two-way bridge. And then we don't show it on this graphic, but if you take the road further, away from the bridge, it's windy, narrow, and I don't think there's a whole lot of opportunity to get great speed either.
What are the weight limits of the new bridge?
Unrestricted, there won't be a weight limit.
Unrestricted.
Legal
yeah.
loads.
And is there a ramp down the way it is now? Will it be similar coming off and
Look at
going
your
toward
rendering.
Mrs. Kratz's house?
But that is my concern, visibility. If you look at that picture.
So even though this isn't the best and it's a Minecraft type graphic, the actual profile that you see there, it won't be humped as bad as it is today, because that's a bad thing for bridges, because when you come up on a bridge, there's a lot of impact to the bridge. So it'll be a much smoother transition, but it still has a vertical curve over the bridge.
I'm talking about once you come off the bridge, there's a dip down where the, that side.
I mean, the existing bridge definitely had a large hump at the bridge, and the sight distance was a concern. And we went through many iterations to get it to a point where you saw in the rendering where there was legal sight distance across it. So sight distance should not be an issue on this bridge, like it is on this bridge. And you can see there's clearly a sight distance issue here. So.
Yeah, there is. And my next concern is
We have
Yep, got to grab the mic. I'm sorry, got to pass it back and forth.
the
We should have two
elevation of the
mics out
bridge, is
there
that
now.
going to change? Because
We have to limit time to make sure
Yep,
everyone's
okay.
But yeah,
the elevation of the bridge, does that change? Because there is a concern with flooding, and actually 29 floods between Buckwater and past this Creek Road entrance. And that's a piece, have they taken that into consideration?
Yeah, so as part of the project, we have to go through an intense hydraulic analysis to determine what's going to happen with the water. Is it going to, are we going to continue to have scour issues? Again, that coming up with a profile that we developed went hand in hand with the hydraulics to make sure that we could minimize flooding. We didn't want to make it worse, for sure, but we also wanted to improve the scour conditions. So while the road itself is getting slightly higher, I believe, but it's getting smoother, and the opening of the bridge is getting wider. So the flooding concern should be alleviated to an extent through that structure. So this opening here is wider than existing. So 53 feet to 75 feet. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just saying that all the flood elevations were reduced in our hydraulic analysis, and we're passing what we call the DEP design storm and the PennDOT design storm, and I believe we said we were at 53 feet existing. We're going to 75 feet proposed.
Can you just tell us who you are, too, for the minutes?
Walt Albright, TPD.
Thank you.
So does this mean the bridge is going to be higher off the creek and it won't flood? Possibly, maybe?
The bridge itself, I'll stand right here in the middle. The bridge itself should not flood, and the flood elevation should be below the proposed beam. So, yes.
I think that's good. I think whenever you're talking about flooding, you got to put a caveat in there. You know, we're seeing storms with more intensity, so it'll be better than it is today, but God knows what the next storm is going to be like. So if based on the analysis and based on the studies we've done today, it is going to be an improved situation, and the bridge will meet the design floods as we design them today.
All right, well, thank you. Oh, want to make a comment? Yeah.
Got the microphone.
We need
Give us your name.
Dean Patterson, 280 Creek Road. So this picture was actually taken from my yard. So I'm well aware of the flooding. I'm well aware of the traffic. I'm well aware of essentially the planning that's gone into it, and I know it's been extensive. From a resident standpoint, I think everybody, at least in our little area, is concerned about the facade, right? The rendering associated with it. Albeit it's kind of funny looking from your schematics. Is there any way that you guys can provide something to residents that, or the board, that actually shows what it will look like?
So not too far from here on Cedar Mill Road, which is up in East and West Vincent Township, there's a truss bridge. If anybody's familiar with that, and I can happy to give you directions if you aren't familiar with it, you wouldn't know, but that is a stone-faced bridge. There's concrete abutment behind that, so we're going to do the same thing here. So if you have a chance to go up to Cedar Mill Road in East and West Vincent Township, that is a county-owned bridge. It was built maybe 10 years ago now, and it's a concrete abutment just like this is going to be, but it's stone-facing on the outside of it. So that's what this is going to look like. That's probably the best thing to do, to see it live. Yeah. That one's been around now for 10 years, so there might be weeds growing, there might be some, it might not be as fresh and pretty, but it's a stone facade.
What crossroad is that in?
It's Pewtown.
Isn't it Buckwater or is it Pewtown Road?
I think it's Pewtown and then Cedar Mill.
Yeah,
it goes
Cedar
by a
Mill,
horse
yeah.
farm and around a curve, and there it is. And if anybody, I can send the township the specific address if it's helpful.
Right near Birch Runville, I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
Mhm. But it's a through truss, so you'll know when you get to it. And when I say a through truss, it's one that's above the bridge and you drive through it. But the stone substructure, just like this one, is stone facing.
That bridge is closed right now for resurfacing.
Yeah, good time to park up there and walk around. You won't be run over by the one-lane bridge condition there. Walt?
About the stone facing, we wrote the spec for the contractor. You can have existing stone that are, they can have different textures, sizes, shapes, colors. So right now, the contractor is going to be able to either use the existing stone out there and put it right back on there, or they're going to be able to source it out from a manufacturer. But if they do source it out, they're going to have to submit like a sample board using that existing stone from those abutments to that manufacturer. And then the manufacturer is going to have to build another sample, and then a representative of the county is going to have to verify that they match. So it should look pretty identical to what's out there now. to that stone in that photo.
I appreciate that. We stare at it every day. I have additional questions. I want to
Grab the mic and
cognizant of
go.
time. So cut me off if that's an issue. As far as the township's planning part of this process, you noted that essentially PennDOT's funding is why it's dictated to the township, correct? Like essentially the funding is what's dictating the design and therefore the input.
Well, I'd like to say a little more to that. Even if this were 100% county funded, we generally follow PennDOT specs as close as we can because they are tried and true and they've been designed over and over. However, we do not have the freedom to deviate from that because of the funding.
Understood. I'll keep going if that's all right. Additionally, with the concerns Barb noted, right, with the horse farm down from it, you're regrading to remove that hump in the road, which is great. But it is kind of, a funnel into everyone speeding. I live there, I see it every day. Either they speed up as soon as they get over the bridge, or they speed up until the bridge, right? And that's their slow down point. Just wondering what the planning was to essentially deal with that runway after the bridge where there are horses walking back and forth. And I understand it's also a township issue.
Okay. Matt, can you go back to the schematic that shows our, the profile, I'm sorry, not the plan view of the bridge? So you see the actually page ends, but that's where our project ends. And this is something that's always problematic in the Commonwealth. The county owns the bridge, the township owns the roadway, or PennDOT owns the bridge and the township, it's always a shared responsibility. So we don't regulate traffic. When we come to design our bridges, we have a design speed based on what's either posted or what the engineers tell us is safe based on anything they can design going forward. I think, Matt, right now it's 25 miles an hour, I believe. So it's a 25 mile an hour design speed. We can throw signs, a speed limit sign in our design, but most people don't like sign pollution either, so it's a give and take. But the actual enforcement or the regulation of the roadway is a township responsibility because we don't monitor speed just because we only own the bridge. Somebody mentioned earlier the idea of putting speed bumps. I would not allow a speed bump right at a bridge, and for the reason being, if someone is speeding, you have potentially a blunt obstruction, or even the guide rail if it's not a blunt obstruction. So you don't want somebody that is speeding hit the bump and then go flying into a structure. So if you're going to do speed bumps, you'd want to do them where there was not an obstruction like that right there in the vicinity. You don't need it.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I have my own mic. What about rumble strips on the portion of the road that the county is constructing?
Well, it's your road at the end of the day. Again, as long as it doesn't, interfere with the flow of traffic, meaning it's not like the speed bumps would cause a hazard. If you wanted to propose a rumble strip, the county could review it and consider it, I presume. But I'm not sure. Other than the thing we get with that, and I know it happened up here on Route 100, maybe not in this area, but further over. They make a lot of noise. So, it's a give and take there too. So if you want to hear that when people go over it, it's kind of noisy.
Okay.
A kid doesn't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Something to think about.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have a lot, but go
Understood.
ahead.
Short. The overall concern, I think, from the residents who aren't here tonight, up to the left on this image, myself, my wife, and our kid, and as well as Barb, is safety associated with it, speed, right, and just understanding the impact of the construction progress along the way. It's a bit concerning that it will be a year from an evacuation standpoint, and maybe you're not responsible for this, but we both know that both sides of that road flood. And so for us, there's really no way to leave. As you said with the storms, my house flooded 2 years ago, and we were kind of stuck. So with that in mind, during the construction, what's the plan essentially to have, and I don't know if that's a township issue or or construction, who it's contracted to, what's the plan associated with that?
So I think Matt alluded to the year's time. A lot of that is from the time we award the contract, and there's a lot of contractual stuff that happens. So before they actually break ground And then by the time they finish, it's probably more like 6 or 8 months, so it's not a full year, but not that your concern doesn't go away potentially. I would say if there's a need to coordinate with emergency services from the standpoint, like the county, the bridge project itself doesn't have a plan for evacuation of township residents. It's something that I would imagine you could be confronted with or have been confronted with when the bridge was closed because of the scour and undermining. So I guess I would defer to the township, to see if there's an emergency services plan, holistically in those types of emergency events.
I apologize to everyone for taking time. I'll hand it off hopefully quickly after this. 2 questions. One, what background checks do you conduct on your subcontractors or contractors associated with projects? And the second question, unrelated, is there any ability for this guardrail proposed that's essentially in our front yard, or what was our front yard, to be changed to a wall that would mimic the other side of the bridge?
So I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer the question about background checks. The only thing I know about the labor for the bridge, it has to be, because of the cost of the project, it'll be prevailing wage. So that's a process in itself, but I really don't know the restrictions on that. I'm not aware of any background checks, but they may, I don't really know. So I can't really answer that question today. The question about the guide rail and changing it to the wall, we actually don't like walls around bridges. And the only reason we're still happy with rebuilding the wall, may I step in, Matt? Yes, it's okay. This wall is okay, and the only reason it's okay because it ties to our wing wall, which has guide rail in front of it, and it'll be, you can't have a blunt, I call it a blunt obstruction, but it's basically something solid that an errant vehicle could hit. So if we were to change, a wall on the other side, guide rail to a wall on the other side, we'd have to put guide rail at the end of it anyway, to give something breakaway so that a car wouldn't hit a blunt. So you'd have more guide rail. It would take the project longer and longer, so we wouldn't want to do it. We do have the wings that come off the bridge now. They are lower, and the guide rail comes across it. But if we were at a wall, we're just chasing ourselves. We have to add the guide rail to stop the blunt obstruction of the wall.
If there isn't currently one in place, is it a requirement? I'm sorry. If there isn't currently one in place, is it a requirement to have one put in? Now I'm being somewhat selfish, yeah, but from a property value standpoint, that's a bit concerning.
So the question is, if there wasn't guide rail, do we need guide rail? And the answer is yes. For PennDOT standards, we have to protect the bridge and in this case, the wall is here, and this is all lower, below grade, but you can't have a car drive over the creek. So we actually have projects now that we're not replacing the bridge, and we're retrofitting the bridges with guide rail, because every time the bridge gets inspected, which is a minimum of every 2 years or every year for a weight-restricted bridge, we get a letter back from PennDOT that says, you need guide rail, it's not safe. So it creates a lot of liability for the county. It absolutely is required.
All right. I think we've heard from the board, from the public. I appreciate your presentation. And at this point, I guess everything's a go. There's nothing else for us to discuss.
Yes, we'll keep in touch,
Yep.
and we'll talk to our police about speed and things of that nature, but that's not your problem.
Perfect. And if you do need an address for the Sheeter Mill Bridge, let me know. But that would be a great one for me to take a look at.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you for having us here.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Okay, moving along. Regular business meeting. Consent agenda ratification of minutes of Board of Supervisors, August 9th, 2023 business meeting. Acceptance of minutes of the Board of Supervisors, August 23, 2023 conditional use hearing, and September 13th, 2023 business meetings. All departments, committees, commission, and council reports as posted and received by the Board of Supervisors for the month of September 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion with the board? Comments from the public? All in favor? Aye. Okay, approval.
Hold on, can someone close that door, please? Thank you.
All right, treasurer's report and payment of bills. Lori.
Great, so for month ending September 30th, 2023, we had a general fund balance of $5.3 million, $5,326,000 to be exact, which is up just slightly over last month when we had a balance of $5,307,000. We're right on target for this time of the year.
Excellent. Consideration to accept treasurer's report in period ending September 30, 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of disbursements dated October 11th, 2023. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? Comments? All in favor? Aye. Board discussion items, subdivision land development. Land development approval of 824 and 840 Glen Court. Waiver request of subdivision land development ordinance for section 320-18.C1A, contours and elevations, as well as 320-18C1B, soil types, and and 320-18C1D, location of existing trees. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
I think Paul will,
I
Paul
was just
can
going
give
to
us
ask
the,
Paul.
Certainly.
you're on.
So this is,
But not literally, but you got it.
there we are.
There you go.
All right. So the application is basically a changing of 1,267 square feet from one lot to the other. The Kruper property has a property line that has like a jut to it, and the adjoining property owned by Mr. Mulrine and Ms. Mackler are looking to take that 1,267 square feet, put it to their property to have a nicer property line. There's no physical improvements involved on this. There is a slight adjustment to an existing fence, but it's not anything close to a land development. The Planning Commission did review this and gave a unanimous recommendation for approval of the waivers and the project.
Great. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask for comments from the floor. Okay. And along the lines of that, final plan approval of minor subdivision plan / lot line revision. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we already discussed that in the last one. Old business discussion. I'm sorry.
So I spoke with the applicant's engineer, and he is going to, with the decision by the board, he's going to put the notes that the waivers were approved, and then he's going to submit copies to the township for the supervisors to sign.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul. Okay, old business, discussion and possible motion to set special meeting dates for the fire department presentation and budget. I will make that motion.
Well, we need to talk about dates first.
All right, don't we need to make a motion first and then?
Nope, we need to discuss it and
All
decide.
right, I'll reverse that motion.
Everybody pull up your
All right,
calendars.
let's discuss.
So the reason we are talking about this now, if you remember the last time, we did not schedule a special meeting. We were going to have this happen at our workshop, but most of the board wasn't able to attend, so we ended up canceling that workshop meeting. So we now need to schedule a special meeting so that we can hear the presentation from Jerry Ozog, who did the strategic plan that the board authorized earlier this year.
And is there no workshop meeting for November?
That would be after our budget meeting, and after the preliminary budget is adopted, so we need to discuss this prior to our budget meeting.
Okay.
Well, it would be great if we could discuss this prior to our budget meeting, I will say, because it makes more sense. And we were intending to discuss the fire department's budget separate from the rest of the budget to try to break up the budget meetings. So Jerry is available.
Are we looking at, what month are we looking at?
It has to be October.
It has to be October.
It needs to be
Remaining weeks of
October.
October, okay.
Is everybody available on October 18th?
Planning Commission?
Yeah, it's,
During the planning commission next. Do you have,
At what time?
I don't know if we're going to have a planning commission
have
meeting.
anything going on?
For next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reached out to Kim asking if there was anything that looks like it's going to be on the agenda. I don't want to speak on behalf of Kim, but based off of what has come through the township, I don't see, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a planning commission meeting next week.
If
You
there
would be,
is,
or
or
I would
is-
be surprised if there is
You
one.
would be
you
surprised.
I would be
if there is.
surprised. So I would assume that there won't be a planning commission next week.
Yeah, I am not aware of anything for the planning commission meeting, and at this point, it would be too late for anybody to get on the planning commission agenda because nothing's been reviewed by the engineer.
I'm open for
So-
that if you guys are. You okay with that?
What were the other options other than the 18th?
Tomorrow night.
I don't know if I can do tomorrow. What time are you thinking going?
He said after 6:30.
I can't do
So he
tomorrow.
can do tomorrow night after 6, you can't do that anyway.
I can't
Yeah.
do tomorrow. no.
But you've seen the presentation, Bob.
What's that?
You've seen the presentation, though.
Your monthly meeting is on the
Yeah,
18th.
I don't have to.
need 3 people, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do that, that's fine.
When?
Can you do that then?
I can't do, I have a different board meeting on the 18th, although I could do it if it was before 7 PM.
At 6:30 to 7.
6:30 to 7.
How long is it gonna take?
Yeah, I don't, truthfully, I
The
don't.
discussion will take longer than 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's not going to be long enough to review the budget.
It's not gonna be long enough.
To their budget, because we have to review.
We,
How about the 19th?
the only available dates that I got from, here's what we can do.
From who?
Let's set,
Jerry?
I don't have,
Oh.
I don't have.
let's set a date that works for everybody to talk about the budget. We'll see if Jerry can make it. If Jerry can't make it, we're just going to have to talk about the strategic plan another time. But let's find a date that we can review the fire department's budget prior to our budget meeting, because I just think we're going to have too much to tackle that night, because we've got the architects coming already the same night as the budget meeting.
Which is the 26th.
Correct. Unless you guys are comfortable, I mean, it's just going to be a long, it's starting to seem like we might have to just do it the same night. We were hoping
To split it.
to split it up, yeah.
It's your budget, so.
Well, I am not enthusiastic about a very long night. I will sit here all night if I have to.
And you said
Yes.
you're good as long as you're out before 7 o'clock next Thursday?
I think it's Wednesday.
Or next Wednesday, I mean the 18th, yeah.
I have a meeting that I'm on the board for, that I have to be there for.
But they have a hard stop of 7, so for next week, so I think next Wednesday's out.
It sounds like that. It doesn't
Can everybody be available on the 26th if we
Sure.
advertise an earlier start time for the meeting? Can we start before 7?
Flying home from Kentucky, I get home at 5 to the airport if it's on time, so that could be tough.
Okay.
No, I don't have to be there as much as people that haven't heard it.
No, this is
This is our budget.
entire budget.
That's our
Yeah, the
that's
budget
our
meeting, I'm
regular.
good for 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll stick with 7. We will do the entire budget that night.
All right.
I mean, I could be available tomorrow. If you wanted to have a meeting tomorrow.
I know I can't, Bob can.
Yeah, it sounds like we're stuck
Oh,
with the
I thought-
regular.
okay,
It
I
sounds,
thought- I
we're,
thought it was good for the fire
we're committed to a very long night.
Evan's like, I can't.
We'll order pizza or something.
We'll order
Fine.
pizza.
Mark's always trying to get me to order him food.
I'm so hungry.
The 26th at 7.
26th.
I did check with Kim, he is available the 26th.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. So, make the motion that,
We don't need any motion, actually. It's the regular,
all right, perfect.
that's already scheduled.
Good deal. All right, moving along. Anything else on that?
We'll just have to circle back and schedule Jerry for a time to be determined.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Discussion of potential motion to fill the unexpired term of
You have to do one.
new business, I'm sorry, accept resignation of Supervisor Susan Garrett effective October 11th, 2023. And I'll just say that Susan has served for many years in the township. We hate to see her go, but she's got reasons why she can't fill the rest of this year out. She would have finished her term at the end of this year. a lot of years on the board, on the zoning hearing board, a lot of service, so very grateful for everything she's done, and we're going to miss her. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Mark. You can second
That's
it.
fine. Any discussion?
Pick one. Yeah.
Any comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Discussion of potential motion to fill the unexpired term of Supervisor Susan Garrett. And since that says discussion, I will not make a motion till we
Yes.
discuss.
So second-class township code dictates that now that the board has officially accepted the resignation of a board member, you now have 30 days in order to fill that vacancy. And discussions on replacement of board members must be held completely during the public session. So that's why we will talk about it now.
Okay, let's talk.
I think we table it until next month and see how the election turns out, and maybe,
We have 30 days from today, so
Mhm.
next month is coming in early before this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with that. If you guys are, that'll be from the 11th, yeah, so next month is the 8th. So we're within the 30-day window.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
So just the mechanics, so, so just the mechanics of that, so the election is on the, what's that, Tuesday?
7th.
The 7th.
So we will know by the 8th.
So we would know by the 8th.
Yep.
And today is the 11th.
It's less
So,
than 30 days.
and would we have to make the appointment at a public meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and our public meeting
The 8th.
is the 8th.
It's the next day.
It's the next day.
Because that's the second Wednesday. It's early that month, as
I'm-
early as it can be.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, if everybody's fine with that?
Great, no motion needed.
No motion needed. Moving along.
Excuse me, I have a question. How do
Yes.
you,
Name and address.
Ellen Jansen, Galway Lane, how, because I actually have a young gentleman whom I think would be great. How does that work? How does someone apply for filling in the rest of the term?
So there's no requirement in the second-class township code that we advertise the vacancy.
Right.
If somebody wants to send me an email, they may, and the board will make a decision and discuss it publicly at the next
Okay.
board meeting.
Okay. Are there people already on the list, or?
That's what they just discussed. So,
So,
there's no official
no,
list.
they just
It's-
accepted the resignation.
That-
So no.
There is
Yeah.
no list. We just, there.
This was, okay.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, her term was going to be at the end of this year, and there
Correct.
is an election in November. Whomever, so this appointment will only be towards the end of the year, and then
Right.
whomever is the winner of the election would be taking over. So this appointment would really be a very short-term
Right.
appointment.
Literally 2
For like
meetings.
a month.
Just, so you, just to be really clear.
Yeah, I understand, but just to get young people involved and, okay, great, thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Ellen. Okay. Discussion to potential motion to reassign liaison positions for Susan. I guess we hold that off until next month as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Discussion and
Are there any meetings, though, that are coming up?
Environmental council.
Environmental Advisory Committee?
That's
That's
good
the one,
point.
yeah. That's the only one.
Are there any meetings coming up where you need somebody to
That's a great point.
There will
fill
be
in?
an EAC meeting between now and the next board meeting.
Can anybody,
There's one, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be just EAC.
I
Okay.
usually go.
All right.
Just one meeting. I
okay,
can do that.
I volunteer Martha.
you've been voluntold.
I accept.
All right. All right, moving along, discussion and possible motion on the conditional use application CU 2023-01, Provco Pine Good Phoenixville LLC. I will make that motion. Do I hear a second? Are we motioning or discussion?
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Second.
that.
All right, discussion. This is regarding potential new Wawa on the corner of 23 and White Horse. For anyone that would like a copy, there's 11 different items on this conditional use, 11 different conditions, and a binding effect. Bill, do you want to speak to this, or is anybody?
Very quickly, the conditional use. Yep. Conditional use is the, sort of the gateway in these projects, and the only issue generally to be decided is whether the applicant has a legal right to the use, that is, to a convenience store with gas. The issue in this case has always been that it is already a convenience store with gas. But in any event, the conditional use was required, hearings were held, and the decision that has been to be voted on tonight is to approve the application for the conditional use with 11 conditions. Now, bear in mind that this is just the beginning in terms of the land development process. All of the details concerning the land development ordinances, which are extensive, will begin once they've met this threshold obligation. So this is not the end of the road, it's more or less in the earlier phases. But legally, there is no basis to turn this down. So that's where we are.
All right, any comments?
I just have
Oh, go ahead,
sorry, if you had a comment about, I just have
go ahead.
a procedural.
No, go ahead.
Was the motion made, Tina, did he state that it was whether to approve or deny? You just read, or was it just motion?
You
Okay,
just read that.
so
It's a
if
motion
the
to
intent
approve.
is motion to approve, you'll just need to amend your motion.
I'll amend the motion to make that a motion to approve the conditional use application CU 2023-01 Provco Pine Good Phoenixville LLC.
I'll second that
Thank you.
amendment.
Okay, any further discussion? Any comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Helen?
Does this have anything to do with the things like that huge sign they want? I didn't read this and I'm not sure.
I think, as Bill said, this is approval to file an application, correct?
They will, the next step is a land development plan application. That'll be public. It might even be on the website, I presume it will be. And you can follow the process, come to the meetings, and take it from there.
Okay, so for the aesthetics and what it actually looks like,
That's in that plan, right?
okay, in the future?
Right.
Okay, all right, thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, we've had a motion and a second. Go ahead.
That, I just wanted to make sure we have to vote on the
Amendment.
motion to amend.
Correct.
The way that this is drafted.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yes.
So that motion that you made is what we're making
Correct.
formal now? Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
So
we
So
have
point of procedure.
is there any discussion on the motion to amend the motion?
No.
No.
Great.
All right, so then in
All
this
in-
case, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Okay,
right.
so now we're on
Okay.
the amended motion.
Now we're on the amended motion.
And is there any discussion of that one?
Any discussion? Any comments?
No comment.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Well, is there any public,
I
is there any
was probably say
public,
any public comment?
Any further public?
No.
any further
Further
public
public
comment?
comment? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Make sure we get rid of
Authorize advertisement to bid
Yes.
green light go traffic signal improvements along Pot House and White Horse Road. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Anything you'd like to say about it?
This is our second Green Light Go grant that we have for the intersection at Pot House and White Horse Roads, just some signalization updates. This is simply just to authorize us to go out to bid for the project, and it is grant funded.
This has been going on since 2016, I think, 2017, maybe? 2017. It's about time. That's all I'm going to say.
Any other discussion? Any public comment? All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, authorize advertisement for Schuylkill Township Pollution Reduction Plan. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you want to say anything about that?
I don't need to.
You can if you want, yeah.
I'd like to hear.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Something you read.
For the audience, what have we passed?
So this, and I'll let Paul chime in as well, but this is the township has a pollutant reduction plan because there is an impaired impaired stream located within the township. So DEP requires that we have a pollutant reduction plan, which is effectively a whole bunch of work that the township has to pay for to reduce the siltation and other particles that get into the creek. We have had a pollution reduction plan. This is actually an amendment, and it's an amended version of the township's pollutant reduction plan. We had one prepared years ago when we were required first to do it by the township engineer at the time. Unfortunately, that particular plan had us doing improvements on federal land. We were not able to get approvals to do that work. So TNM had to redo the plan for us. They've come up with a great solution it will be budgeted for next year. It is an unfunded mandate, so we have to pay for it. It's not cheap, but it is what it is. We're required to do it. So we feel good about the plan that we've got. So now we have to kind of redo all of the steps to put this into place, and all of this work has to be done by the end of 2024.
And we don't have to trespass into Valley Forge Park.
We do not have to trespass into Valley Forge Park. They very politely told us, no way.
And smack down, in other words.
Thanks for asking, but no. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's where we are. We'll post this information on the website. The next step, it will now be, once we advertise it, it'll be publicly available for everybody to view, and we will accept public comments on the plan at the next meeting, or by email.
I have another question. So the Polig development, that will create pollution. How will the pollution?
That's not part of
That
this.
has nothing.
Sound like it.
No.
No, these are
That's
two
different thing.
completely separate matters.
So the creek that you're talking about is Valley Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Valley Creek is listed as impaired, and as big as the township is in Schuylkill, there's a very small swath that goes to Valley Creek, and all the proposed improvements have to be located in there. This is nowhere even close to the Reeves property. This is basically near Valley Forge Park, Oakwood Lane, Davis Road, and Colonial Springs Road. It's the only area in the township where the PRP plan is applicable.
And I remember, I'm not sure what year it was, but it's when I learned that the treated sewage, whatever, from Tredyffrin and/or Easttown comes down Valley Creek, because that's when the sewage pipe exploded. And I remember I drove by it at that moment, and there was toilet paper coming. It was crazy. But it's not all Schuylkill Township polluting. Other townships are contributing to it. Right?
However, we're required by mandate from above our heads to do it anyway.
Even though.
But Tredyffrin has to do it,
Yeah,
and so does West
everybody
Town,
has
and
to do it along-
everyone
yeah.
upstream has to do it as
Yeah,
well. It's not just Schuylkill
Yeah.
Township.
Okay.
But we have to do our part as part of the mandate to do something.
Okay, so the others have to put their
Yeah.
contribution.
No, this is a statewide mandate, and it's not just Valley Creek. It's a lot of impaired streams all across the state.
Right.
So
So the reservoir where the Polig's going is not considered, quote, impaired? at
it
this
is not.
time?
No.
Okay. But it will be.
All right, moving along, we had that motion, and that went through. So authorize advertisement to bid the 2023-2024 equipment rental contract.
Did we vote?
We did. Yeah,
Oh, okay, we voted.
so we did a little, yeah.
Sorry, I'm slow tonight.
I missed the comment until after, so. All right. So I'll make the motion on the 2023-24 equipment rental contract. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion. Anything we need to,
So this is actually the second time we will bid this. We bid it the first time you authorized advertisement, I think at the last meeting. We received 0 bids, so we are required to bid it again and give it another shot.
okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any comments, public comment?
But actually,
Any
I have a
further?
question then. If we get no, if we get no bids, how do we rent equipment in the future?
We can rent equipment under the bid threshold. If we want a contract that we've traditionally done in the past that is not just for equipment, it's equipment and labor to supplement our road department of 3 plus the roadmaster, we need the contract in place in order to do that because we exceed the bid thresholds.
Yeah.
If we get 0 bids again this time, then we are excused from the procurement rules.
Okay.
But the co- yeah,
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
so I just wanted that out.
Yes,
It's just
correct.
nice to
We are
have-
required to bid it
nice
twice.
to have security and reduce the variability that can be introduced when you don't have contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
Any public
This is
comment?
less concerning at this time of the year. This is
Right.
primarily for, road projects. We're heading into winter.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, consideration of approval to award bid to Cedar Springs Construction Company up to the amount of $448,750 for the 2023-2024 snow removal service. I will make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Give us an update.
So, this was the one and only bid that we received on our snow removal contract, as opposed to the equipment rental contract. We need this now. Unfortunately, the prices have gone up substantially. We are not alone in that. Everybody else is having trouble getting contractors to do snow removal as well. That number that's listed on the agenda is the maximum worst-case scenario that we could possibly spend. The bid is done based on an estimate of hours. We obviously won't know what it will actually look like until it either starts to snow or hopefully never does, again, like last year. This is also paid for out of liquid fuels money, so it's not general funds, although the general fund does sometimes supplement our snow removal depending on how we budget it. And it's split over 2 years. So in 2023, we didn't use more than, I think, $6,000 in snow removal from liquid fuels. So we do still have that amount left in the budget, and the money stays. So it's an alarming number. We have a lot of plans in place for how we're going to have to get creative to bid this going forward, but.
Any more discussion? Public comment? We have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Authorize Township Manager to deposit the 2023 state aid into the Schuylkill Township non-uniform pension plan and police pension plan in the amount of $38,620 and $142,044.53 respectively. An additional deposit into the police pension plan will be made in the amount of $1,135.40 from general funds to satisfy the 2023 MMO. I will make that motion. For your second.
Second.
All right. Discussion.
Nope.
This is our 2023 state aid. The reason you see, so we're required within a certain period of time by state law to deposit that money into each pension plan. This is the money that the state gives us based on the calculations for our, the amount that the township has to fund into the pension plans each year. You see the general fund contribution being made this year as opposed to last year because our MMO this year, our state aid came in under our MMO, just slightly for the police pension plan, but we did not receive enough state aid to cover our MMO, which is why we have to supplement with general funds. It covered the non-uniform, but the police pension plan requires that additional deposit.
Excellent. Any public comment? We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, authorize Township Manager to sign managed service agreement with Munilogic in the amount of $600 per month for a term of 3 years. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
That's their standard pricing for the new module they're using, I suppose. Is this the online thing? I was saying that's the standard pricing for the new modules they're using. It's like all online or something.
This is our permitting software. It's the permitting software that our zoning officer uses. It is their standard pricing. We're in a weird position. We were grandfathered into an old agreement that no longer exists. In fact, we purchased this software from an engineering company that no longer exists, who sold it to Carroll Engineering, is who we originally contracted through. That no longer exists, nor does the agreement under which we were operating. So at this point, in order to, and we did a module upgrade a couple 2 years ago or so. So we're not in terrible shape, but they have now transitioned completely, and in order for us to maintain operating within the system, we have to go to their new agreement and be transitioned into their new, we're not gaining any additional modules.
I was saying is it's not an upgrade, it's a transfer of systems, and they're
Yeah.
charging.
So
I don't know that they're charging.
Not charging more.
We
but
are
just
going to
charging-
be paying more because
Yeah.
we were paying artificially
A lot
low
less, yeah.
rates that have not really actually existed for them in quite some time, but we kind of skated by.
Was this is it an on-prem license or is it a cloud-based license?
It's cloud-based.
Okay, and so are we paying, this is the license fee, or are we paying, this is like a software, like a maintenance agreement? Or this is the actual license?
Both.
Okay.
All right, further discussion? Public comment? We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorized payment of $118,775.87 to Axon Enterprise Incorporated for police body cameras and car cameras and associated equipment. This expense will be 100% reimbursed by the PCCD grant that the police department was awarded for 2023. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, discussion.
Congratulations, Chief, on getting the grant.
Nice job. Any public comment? So really happy to see this go through. We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
2-minute reports, board liaisons. Danielle, anything to report?
Nothing to report from the regional planning committee.
Nothing to report from the Regional Planning Committee. With Susan not here, should we make an announcement about the tree giveaway from the EAC?
We actually have a member of the EAC here who might want to come up and talk about it.
Here. You've been voluntold. Would you
Put
like?
you on the
I was
spotlight,
just going to read what is on the calendar on the website, but.
We like when you.
I'm Karen Hilliard from the EAC. Yeah, we are doing a tree giveaway. We originally started with 50 trees with pre-registration. All 50 were claimed. We did not spend up to the amount of our approved budget from you guys, so we were able to purchase 40 more trees. As of a few hours ago, I think 25 of those 40 were also claimed, so only a few left to claim. It's supposedly on October 21st and rain date the 22nd if we have bad weather. Okay.
That's great. So are people going to the link that's on the website and
Yes.
doing
So-
that, the township website?
Yeah, it's on the township website. We shared it on Facebook and a few people shared it. It's also going to be in the newsletter, but they may all be claimed by the time people receive the newsletter, but that's good, in my opinion.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for your work on
Thank you
that.
for helping us out with that.
Thanks, guys.
Did you take a tree?
I did not.
You good. You take taxpayer trees.
Danielle, anything else to?
No.
All right. Mark?
No, the only thing PC discussed was that lot line revision, so it's been kind of slow.
Okay. Martha?
I'm trying to remember the historical commission meeting.
It's lost to memory.
Do you want to report on the tree lighting also?
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I have to think about the historical commission meeting. Were you there, Lori?
Did they meet? I don't think they met. They canceled it?
Did you attend a meeting?
Okay, I attended the meeting, but I don't think that there was really anything that I need to report.
Obviously, it wasn't important enough to report.
I'll put it
Let's-
that way. I did want to, I'll let everyone know that we did have a tree lighting ceremony. Representatives from the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County, if you guys recall, they planted a tree right next to our old Township building. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we had a ceremony last night to light the tree up in purple. And it was really well attended. We had about 30 people there. And it was a really, really nice ceremony. And we hope this is going to be an annual thing that the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County is going to be sponsoring. And we hope to see more people there every year. And just to let everyone know, the children of the woman who was murdered by Danilo Cavalcante, they lit our tree for us last night. It was very sweet. So.
Awesome. Okay, I have nothing to report. And Township Manager, Laurie.
I think I spoke enough tonight. I have nothing else to report.
All right. Chief, you're up.
Good evening. The activity report, I think, was sent to everybody. Did you have any questions on police activity for the month of September?
No.
All right, that's really all I have.
All right.
Phillies just won, so.
Oh, is it over?
I know, you just did that.
I just passed it over to Martha. I said, what a game.
And again, Chief.
Yeah.
Chief, congratulations on the grant award. That's a lot of money, and it's good that you got the grant. So, congratulations on that.
Excellent. Okay, Township Engineer, Paul, anything to report?
Yeah, just Paul Lehman, we're still waiting on Dolly to get back to us to do the last little bits for the punch list. They have a pay app out that we've reviewed. Everything is good to go, but until we do this final punch list, it's going to sit idle. So we've requested them to come out, but by them extending this, it's basically making the maintenance bond, extend out to the benefit of the township. So as I've said multiple times, I'm sure they're just waiting for a rainy stretch of time where they'll have a bunch of laborers around who can come down here and organize the inspection. So,
okay.
How much money is left?
The pay app, would be $215,000, $719.17. And
that's a lot of money for them to sit on. That's amazing.
And like I said, the maintenance bond with this would be for a period of 2 years, and it would be 15%. So it would be about $112,000, for a bond in case anything should go poorly in the first 2 years.
Paul, I just want to ask, if there's no more questions about Paul, let me try. Just ask a question about the presentation from the county that we heard earlier. It sounds as though that they were amenable to potentially putting, rumble strips on. Do you have a position on that? Do you have any thoughts? I mean, obviously, this is not going to be built tomorrow. We'll have time to discuss it. But they seemed amenable to making a minor change to their design if that was something that the township wanted on that road.
Well, the issue with the rumble strips there is they won't act as a deterrent. Like usually a rumble strip is a warning that you're coming upon something that either the lanes are channeling down or widening and such like that. They did make note of it, and should be stated that it is a residential area, and there's obviously horses there, etc. Rumble strips, when you do drive over them, it makes noise in the car, it makes noise outside. So that would be a little bit of a challenge. Some of the residents might not want that habitual noise, with the 1,800 cars per day that they're.
I think that they mentioned that the road is narrowing into our standard.
It tapers all the way into the standard, whatever it is currently, once it gets past the area they're working on. Anything they're working on is a little wider, anything that's beyond is tapered into it.
So 24 feet to 16 feet?
Yep.
And the two residents who are closest there, those were the two people that spoke? Okay, just something to think about. Okay.
All right, moving along. Fire company. Guys, anything to report on?
We sent out a report. I wanted to thank Kim Yoakum for her support for some enforcement activities from the fire marshal's office. We've been dealing with some problem children out there. And just to remind everyone about our November 4th pancake breakfast at 7 a.m. And while we're on the topic, with regards to the bridge replacement, it significantly augments our capabilities. That is a target hazard for us and has been for quite some time. So getting some extra bandwidth in there for fire trucks or larger vehicles is good for us, so.
Good.
Questions? Awesome.
Nope, great job. Thanks, guys. Okay, discussion agenda items for upcoming workshop meetings.
Next workshop is a budget meeting.
Yep, I think that might
Let's
be-
not add
That's it.
anything else.
That's our
Thank
last-
you. Great.
So I don't think we need to go past that right
What's
now,
that?
because we don't know if that's gonna be all
Correct.
wrapped into one, so. All right, so not much to discuss there. Announcements?
None.
Public comment?
I have a couple. First, Ellen Jansen. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Getz for that email that you sent out about leaves and things. I think it's already made a difference in my neighborhood. I see that people aren't blowing their leaf trash out into the street. And also that machine that comes around the truck with the giant vacuum. I'm impressed that that truck's already been around a few times. So I think that'll help with the sewer grates and drainage. And I have questions about, does anyone know what's going on with what used to be the Christian Conference Center? And I forget what it's called now, that the University of Valley Forge owns or did own, or what's going on?
We don't have any plans.
Yeah, nothing's been brought in front of
Nothing.
us.
So the plans that were there just kind of evaporated?
The developer left and we've heard nothing since.
Oh, okay, so he's totally gone.
The last
Well,
one,
we
the
don't-
last one,
we
the last
don't
one with any,
know.
the last one
Yeah.
with any plan submissions.
That was a
They're-
couple of
they've been
years
gone.
away, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about the house at the corner of Route 23 and Country Club that was composting and then demolished, and now it's just an empty basement surrounded by cyclone fencing?
You wanna speak to that?
Would that
That's-
owner consider just making it be open land? Getting rid of that basement and the cyclone fencing and then just leaving it as open space?
Well, that's
worth talking
private.
open space about.
Yeah, it's
That's private property. If you have questions about a specific property, I would say to contact us in the office.
Okay, all right. And then my last is the speeding on Route 23 and on Valley Park Road. There are cars that I'm sure on Route 23 are going more than 60 miles an hour, because I'll be going the speed limit at 45 and they're just raced way ahead. And for some reason they know they can get away with it, and then they drive through the red lights and get away with it. But I know that's happening everywhere.
We've had a lot more activity with the police. And,
I know.
Keeping an eye on it over the last year, and it's,
I love hearing the siren, I mean, not love hearing the sirens, but.
well, we've had more visibility with the police as well.
Yeah, and there've been accidents, I'll hear, and then I'll hear crash, and then I'll hear sirens, so.
So it should be improving. I don't know if you want to speak to this or what we should say, but.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is your impression of the speeders and I worry most about cyclists and people who are crossing the streets. There was an accident on Route 23 a few months ago, but I thought, how did that even happen? It wasn't even at the signal light, it was just kind of.
That was DUI.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, I mean, our officers are out there. The activity reports reflect their activity. We do a lot of speed enforcement. We try to hit hot spots all over the township, so we look at accidents and how we can prevent them. Even if their officers are just out there sitting, observing intersections as a deterrent.
I think that is a big deterrent. When people see that white car with police on the side, they suddenly slow down.
Right.
Every day on my way home from work, I find you in different places, and I appreciate that you're not in the same spot every day, because that means it's a surprise.
And as you're aware, I don't know if you're aware, but speed enforcement is challenging for local police departments because we don't have access to radar. So we have to rely on like a aerobic device, which basically, if you see two white lines in the road, that's basically, you would call it a speed trap. But so as a car hits the first line, we have a device that we hit. As it hits the second line, we hit it again. The distance between those two lines is programmed into the device, and it automatically gives the speed. And those are calibrated every month. So it's challenging, where you're going to sit to try to be able to pull out safely. So we do do as much as we can. But speed enforcement is challenging, but we're out there.
Do those signs, like the one they put up in the park recently on 23, do they record, or do they have radars?
No.
They don't, so that's
No.
just a warning sign.
Yeah.
Speed limit 35, you're going 42.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to tell people that. Tell them yes.
We do have satellite technology.
The Schuylkill Township helicopter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Schuylkill Township's getting that helicopter, to deal with all that,
Keep an eye
right?
out for drones.
Yeah, I don't want to give you wrong information.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. No, that's what you want people to think, I guess,
Yeah, I
but-
think it's already made a difference in the park, though. I see people slowing down when they see that. the
Yeah, most people, when they see if they're going over the speed limit, they'll slow down.
Yeah, yeah. But I really appreciate, I think everybody appreciates what your department does.
Thank you,
So
appreciate that.
Really, very, very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Thanks, Alan. All right, we have nothing else?
So actually, Lori, I had a comment. She made a comment about the email that, I'm sorry, she made a comment about the email that you sent out about the leaves.
Yes.
Was that posted on Facebook?
Yes, and also I can
Okay.
take zero credit for that. That was all Valentina.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
But
Valentina.
yes, but as just a reminder, I mean, the whole point of that email was that the township does not do residential leaf collection, so please do not put your leaves into the street. That is a nightmare for us. When you see the leaf truck going around the neighborhood, it is exclusively to clean out storm drains. It is not to pick up leaves that people are raking into the street from their yard.
All right, and throw a match on them, and then call. Yeah. No. All right, if there is nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Got a lot done in an hour and a half.
Don't run away. I need signatures.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.